Imagine if one person had the power to make laws, enforce them, and even punish those who broke them. Would not that be dangerous? Absolutely. Power in one hand can turn democracy into dictatorship. And that's exactly why the concept of separation of powers was born. To keep power in balance and democracy safe. The separation of powers is one of the basic ideas behind how democratic countries are run. It means dividing the government's power and responsibilities into different branches: the legislative, the executive, the judicial branch. This system ensures that no single branch becomes too powerful, keeping governance fair, honest, and accountable. So, what is the exact meaning of separation of powers? The idea of separation of powers means dividing government work into three parts. The legislature makes the laws, the executive enforces them, and the judiciary interprets and applies them. Each branch has its own clear function and must not interfere in the work of the others. This prevents misuse of power and maintains a healthy balance. For example, the president can't make laws, the ruling party can't enforce laws by itself, and the courts can't run the government. All three, legislature, executive, and judiciary, are organs of the government, working together for the welfare of the people. The constitution ensures that they cooperate but don't dominate each other. In short, it's about coordination without control. Let's see its historical revolution. How did the idea begin? This concept did not appear overnight. It evolved over centuries. The roots of this doctrine go back to ancient times. Aristotle, in his book Politics, first mentioned that governance works best when powers are divided. The Roman Republic also had distinct branches handling different responsibilities. In the 17th century, John Locke developed this idea further in England's parliamentary period. He suggested three branches and believed that the legislature should hold the most power, while the monarch managed the other two. This mix of democracy and monarchy laid the foundation for checks and balances. Later, Wade and Phillips clearly defined three main aspects. Individual separation means one person should not hold powers in more than one branch, or no interference, each branch should function independently, and exclusive functions, each branch should perform its specific duties only. These rules ensured that power remained divided, defined, and disciplined. So, why do we need separation of powers? But what's the real purpose behind this principle? Let's understand the main objective one by one. It's preventing tyranny, means to stop dictatorship and keep power distributed, ensuring accountability and democracy. Then, preventing misuse of power. Each branch has clear limits. If anyone crosses them, it becomes unconstitutional. And it ensuring accountability, since each branch has defined roles, it's easy to identify who is responsible for what. Maintaining balance, no single branch can dominate others. This balance keeps decision fair and considered. And enhancing efficiency, each branch focuses on its specialized work, leading to better performance and smoother governance. Together, these objectives help create a just, efficient, and responsible government. This is a three main elements, the pillars of power. Let's break it down into the three branches that keep this system running. Legislative branch, the lawmakers, this body like parliament creates and amends laws that govern the nation. Executive branch, the law enforces. This branch led by the president, prime minister, and the government officials implement those laws and run day-to-day administration. Then judicial branch, the law interprets. The judiciary, including the Supreme Court and High Courts, interprets laws, protects citizens' rights, and ensures justice. Each branch checks and balances the others, so no one becomes too powerful. Now, how do different countries follow this principle? United Kingdom, the UK, has an unwritten constitution. The executive, prime minister, and cabinet is a part of the legislature, parliament, but the judiciary remains independent. United States, the US, has a written constitution with clear separation. Congress makes laws, the president enforces them, and the Supreme Court interprets them. Yet they still check each other, like the president's veto power or Senate's role in judge appointments. Then in Australia follows a mixed model. The Governor General appoints judges and ministers. So there is overlap, but independence is maintained. In India follows a parliamentary form of government like the UK, where executive and legislature are linked, but the constitution still maintains clear boundaries through specific articles. Now let's take a closer look at how our constitution defines this. Key provisions that ensure separation include Article 53 and 154 says executive powers rest with the president and governors. Then Article 122 and 212 says courts can't interfere in legislative proceedings. Then Article 105 and 194 says MPs and MLAs have freedom of speech inside the house. Then Article 50 says direct separation of judiciary from executive. Article 245 says Parliament and states have clear law making authority. Article 75 clause 3 says Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Then Article 361 says President and governors are not answerable to courts for official acts. However, some overlaps exist like ordinance power. 123 and 213 article says executive can make temporary laws. And emergency power, Article 356 says President can take over state governance. Then judicial review, Article 32, 226 and 136 says courts can check actions of legislature and executive. So India follows a balanced and flexible version of the doctrine. Now let's see how Indian courts have shaped this principle over time. In the case of Ram Jawaya Kapoor versus State of Punjab, the court said even if the constitution does not mention it directly, the function of each organ are clearly defined. Then in the case of Indira Nehru Gandhi versus Raj Narayan, the court held that India does not follow a rigid US style separation. Then in the case of Golaknath versus State of Punjab says every organ must act within its defined power. Then in A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras case, the court highlighted legislative supremacy within its field. Then in the case of Asif Hamid versus State of Jammu and Kashmir, the court said every organ must respect the boundary of others. That's real constitutional discipline. Now the question is, does this old doctrine still matter today? Absolutely. Even though governments work together more now, the idea of checks and balances is still essential. It prevents concentration of power, promotes accountability, and ensures transparent governance. In modern system, the parliament monitors the executive, the judiciary reviews the law, and the executive can veto legislation. This creates a healthy circle of control and cooperation, the true spirit of democracy. But yes, it's not a perfect system. It has its limitation too. Difficult to clear separation powers. Some overlap is necessary for smooth governance. Limits flexibility. Strict separation can delay urgent decision. Complex governance needs coordination. Modern states require teamwork, not strict isolation, or impractical rigidity. Too much division may reduce efficiency in welfare-based system. So while the doctrine protects freedom, it must also adapt to modern realities. So in the end, the doctrine of separation of powers is not about dividing the government, it's about balancing it. In today's world of globalization and reforms, this principle needs a broader and more practical interpretation. It should focus on cooperation, coordination, and accountability, not rigid separation. Its real essence lies in maintaining checks and balances, preventing misuse of power, and ensuring that all branches work for the welfare of the people. So remember, democracy stays alive not because one branch rules, but because all three balances each other. That's the true power behind the separation of power. That's it for today.